You have lost not to your boss, not to your circumstances, not to the economy. You have lost to yourself. And you have been losing every single day without even knowing it. That ends today. You have lost not to your boss, not to your circumstances, not to the economy. You have lost to yourself. And you have been losing every single day without even knowing it. That ends today. In the next 10 minutes, I am going to show you the exact method the ancient Stoics used to stop losing to themselves. A method so powerful that a Roman emperor used it every single morning to rule the greatest empire in history. Every single day, you face two versions of yourself. The version that wants to grow, create, push forward, and build something meaningful. And the version that wants comfort, certainty, and the safety of the familiar. And every single day, in millions of small invisible decisions, one of those versions wins. If you are watching this video, there is a strong chance that the wrong version has been winning, and you already know it. Marcus Aurelius understood this battle better than almost any human being who ever lived. As emperor of Rome, he had every comfort, every distraction, every reason to surrender to the easier version of himself. And yet, every single morning, before the demands of empire began, he sat alone with his journal and wrote words that were never meant for anyone else. Words that reveal a man in constant, deliberate battle with his own weaker self. A battle he chose to fight every single day. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This was not philosophy. This was a war cry. A declaration of intent from a man who understood that every external battle, every military campaign, every political crisis, every plague and famine, was secondary to the internal battle happening inside his own skull. The battle against distraction, against self-pity, against the voice that says it is too hard, too late, too much. So why do we keep losing to ourselves? Neuroscience has the answer. Your brain has a built-in mechanism called the path of least resistance. The brain is an energy-conserving organ. It always prefers the option that requires the least mental effort. This is why scrolling feels easier than reading. Why watching feels easier than creating. Why complaining feels easier than changing. Your brain is not lazy, it is efficient. But that efficiency, left unmanaged, becomes your greatest obstacle. The Stoics called this obstacle the hegemonikon, the ruling faculty of the mind. They believed that the quality of your life was determined entirely by the quality of your ruling faculty. A trained, disciplined mind produces a powerful life. An undisciplined, reactive mind produces a life of drift, where circumstances, emotions, and other people's agendas determine everything. You are not the victim of your life. You are the product of your ruling faculty, and your ruling faculty can be trained. The first method to stop losing to yourself is what Epictetus called the dichotomy of control. Epictetus, who was born a slave and became the most influential philosopher of his era, taught one principle above all others. There are things within your control, your thoughts, your choices, your responses, your effort. And there are things outside your control, other people's opinions, the weather, the economy, the past. Losing to yourself always begins with spending energy on what you cannot control. Every morning that you wake up and spend your first thoughts on the news, on social media, on what others think of you, you have already begun losing. You have handed your ruling faculty to external forces before the day has even started. The Stoic practice is the opposite. Before anything external enters your mind, you deliberately direct your attention inward. You decide what you think about. You choose your first thoughts. You set the agenda for your own mind before the world sets it for you. The second method is what Marcus Aurelius practiced every single morning, Memento Mori, the deliberate contemplation of your own mortality. This sounds dark. It is not. It is the most clarifying practice in all of Stoic philosophy. When you genuinely remember that your time is finite, that this day will not return, that the version of you sitting here right now is temporary, The petty distractions that cause you to lose to yourself lose their power almost immediately. Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." He was not telling you to ignore the future. He was telling you that the present moment, this breath, this decision, this action, is the only place where winning or losing actually happens. The past is fixed, the future is uncertain. But right now, in this moment, you have complete power over whether the stronger or weaker version of yourself wins. That power exists nowhere else. Only here, only now. Use it. The third method is voluntary discomfort, a practice the Stoics called ascesis. Deliberately doing hard things, not because they are necessary, but to prove to yourself that you are capable of doing hard things cold water. Difficult conversations. Skipping comfort when comfort is available. Choosing the harder path when the easier one is right there. Every act of voluntary discomfort trains your ruling faculty to choose strength over ease, automatically and habitually, over time. Seneca practiced this regularly. He would spend days living on minimal food, sleeping on hard surfaces, wearing simple clothing, not because he had to, but to remind himself that he could. He wrote, "Set aside certain days on which you shall withdraw from your business and make yourself at home with the smallest possible possessions. Begin, my dear friend, to practice even in little things the fellowship of poverty." He was not being dramatic. He was training his mind to stop losing to comfort. The fourth method is journaling, the practice Marcus Aurelius used every single morning and every single evening. Not journaling as venting, not journaling as diary keeping, journaling as self-examination. The questions matter. Where did I lose to myself today? What did the weaker version of me choose? What would the stronger version have done differently? What will I do tomorrow? These questions, asked honestly, answered honestly, are the mechanism by which the mind examines itself and improves. The Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, the most famous Stoic text in history, was never meant to be published. It was his private journal, a record of a man fighting himself, honestly, repeatedly, without self-deception. He writes about his own failures, his own impatience, his own temptations. He does not hide from them. He examines them, names them, and commits to doing better. That honesty, that refusal to lose to self-deception, is what made him one of the greatest leaders in human history. The fifth method is what modern psychology calls implementation intentions, and what the Stoics called premeditation. Before a difficult situation arises, you decide in advance exactly how you will respond. Not vaguely, specifically, if I feel the urge to scroll instead of work, I will immediately put my phone in another room. If I feel resistance before exercising, I will put on my shoes first and decide later. If I feel the impulse to react with anger, I will take 3 breaths before speaking. The Stoics called this premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity. You anticipate the moments where you are most likely to lose to yourself, and you create a specific plan for those exact moments. Because willpower in the moment of temptation is unreliable. But a decision made in advance, in a calm, rational state, is far more powerful. You are not relying on how you feel. You are relying on a commitment you already made when you were thinking clearly. Here is the truth about losing to yourself that nobody wants to hear. You will never stop losing completely. Marcus Aurelius lost to himself. Epictetus lost to himself. Seneca lost to himself. The Meditations is full of evidence that Aurelius failed, repeatedly, to live up to his own standards. But here is what separated him from ordinary men. He kept fighting. He did not use his failures as evidence that fighting was pointless. He used them as data, as information, as fuel for the next morning's commitment. The goal is not perfection. The goal is the daily practice of choosing, in as many moments as possible, the stronger version of yourself over the weaker one. Some days the stronger version wins most of the battles. Some days the weaker version wins most of them. But the person who practices this daily, who journals, who who uses the dichotomy of control, who practices voluntary discomfort, who premeditates adversity, that person trends upward slowly, then suddenly, then permanently. So here is your complete Stoic method for stopping the losing. First, every morning, before your phone, spend 5 minutes deciding what your stronger self would choose today. Second, practice Memento Mori. Remember, this day will not return. Third, do one hard thing voluntarily every single day. Fourth, journal every evening. Where did you win? Where did you lose? What will you change? Fifth, premeditate your weakest moments. Make the decision before the temptation arrives. That is the method, simple, ancient, proven. Marcus Aurelius fought this battle for 19 years as emperor, facing plagues, wars, betrayal, and personal tragedy, and he never stopped fighting. Epictetus fought it in chains as a slave, and produced wisdom that has outlasted empires. Seneca fought it in exile and in the shadow of death, and left behind letters that still change lives 2,000 years later. They were not superhuman. They were committed to the daily practice of not losing to themselves. That commitment is available to you. Right now, today, subscribe and keep winning.